Well, it seems like the wait is over. Welcome back to the Nerd Street Gamers Valorant vs. Strat qualifier. It may only be the open bracket. It may be that the teams will get a second shot in the close later on. But Ryan, we are going into a battle of, well, one of the Titans and one that we expect to be. It's 100 Thieves, going to be facing off against TSM. And I'll be honest, I am more than ready to be getting into this one. But there are other games available. Now, you never know. Maybe people will want to go and watch Cloud9 versus the Boogermen. It is going to be going on Nerd Street Gamer 2. I will say that I personally would recommend staying on this stream, but, you know, Cloud9, they got some pretty... Well, they got a lot of fans. You might want to follow them through. But realistically, this is going to be an absolute bang, or at least I hope it is.
You should think so, really. You've got TSM that's been a top team since it started. 100 Thieves have not had a really good time in Valorant up until this point, but with their new roster around Hiko, it's actually pretty spectacular, the stuff that they've done. So this is a good chance for either of them to be really trying to be a top seed going into the closed series. You can sort of see the new 100 Thieves and how it bodes up, and a lot of older, seasoned CSGO talent in here for sure. But I'm really excited to see Asuna and Dicey, see how they play out, and ultimately how 100 Thieves' playstyle goes up against Team Solo Mid, as it is definitely varied, even with the agents that they play.
Well, yeah, this is the thing that's going to be interesting, because I think the way that 100 Thieves have built their roster it's impressive. They've picked up 3 very well-seasoned sort of Counter-Strike players who we know can compete at the very top of Counter-Strike still, and then they've taken 2 incredibly young talents from another roster that was already doing relatively well in the form of Immortals. So they've got all the pieces. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They've got multiple in-game leaders, players who have proven themselves to be some of the best in the world. The question is it going to work well together? And from what we've seen so far with their destruction of Dignitas, it's not a bad position. But that is beating Dignitas, who've recently had to change a couple of players, and beating TSM, who've been one of the top teams in North America throughout Valorant so far. It's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, and there's certainly going to be a lot of question marks around who loses this, whether the strategy's been held on to. There's definitely reasons why you want to be trying to go as high as possible. You will just have the easiest bracket, and you will be running into some of those teams that only got to the round of 16. Your Build by Gamers, the teams like Spot Up, for example, they are still teams that deserve to be in the closed qualifiers, sure, but because they branched out so low, it should be a more straightforward time. So I genuinely think there is reason for these teams to try their hardest, even if it is just for bragging rights at this point. A lot of strategies are going to be saved, sure, but we have beefy patches in between now and when these closed qualifiers happen, right? So I don't inherently think that it's a case of, well, one team's really just going to take the feet off the gas. There is still a lot to play for here, even if it is just who is the better team out the two.
Well, I think the other thing as well, for me personally, with TSM, like, having the last Ignition series being, well, if anything, a failure. Like, I think that's the main thing we have to talk about. Like, they were expected to be in the final. They were not in the final. In fact, losing, I think it was to Dignitas, who have since then, like, sort of fallen apart. But realistically, we were expecting a lot more from them. So even if it is just coming into this tournament and just smashing their way through everybody else in the open bracket and then moving on into the closed, I think it's a statement. And I think that's something that TSM at this point are almost renowned for, is making a statement. Hey, take Wardell on Twitter, for example. He loves to make a little bit of a statement about some of his opposing players, which has been definitely a talking point of today for sure, especially now that Sentinels have actually already fallen out. Although I did see a clip earlier of, I think it was Dapper trying to do a 360 and get a kill. So maybe they weren't taking that game quite as seriously as we would have liked them to. But even still, like, this is going to be a match where it's a proving ground for 100 Thieves. It's a chance for them to practice versus some of the, or one of the best teams in the whole of North America. And it's a chance for TSM to say, you know what, guys, you're not here yet.
And I think TSM's road here was a little bit awkward in some of the cases. And
Yeah.
to be honest, when you look at 100 Thieves' playbook, it's fairly comprehensive considering they haven't been playing together that long. They seem to have different ways of approaching sites, a lot of default and executes that they like to play, and just a way that they're able to clutch out in some pretty insane moments. You would hope to see them today at least. It is the quarterfinal matchup between 100 Thieves, TSM, a game that we've been waiting for all day as soon as we saw these two teams lined up. Bind will not be played. This was actually banned out on the side of TSM. So this is 100 Thieves' pick on Ascent, and TSM are going to be defending first.
Yeah, this is a map that there's been a couple really that they've been truly terrifying on. I think Ascent and Haven are the two that I swing towards TSM because they are so deadly on those two maps. They've definitely shown a few vulnerabilities here and there, but those are the first two maps in the series. Similarly to what we said before when we saw Sentinels go into it looks like they should be relatively heavy favorites, but the fact is 100 Thieves have one factor that TSM will never have, and that is they are an unknown. We don't know what to expect from them. We have very few maps that have been seen from them. And TSM, well, sure, they've been changing things up quite a bit recently. We've seen a few different agents coming in for their comps, even a Viper actually coming out, although I don't know if that will be something that's just left for the early stages of the open qualifier. But more interestingly, for example, Sub Rosa has completely switched back to a controller role. So it's going to be tougher to play against them because it's not the same as before. But at the same time, I'm sure 100 Thieves have done their research.
Two very different compositions, just the one duelist on the side of TSM. Of course, it's Wardell, surrounded by the bridge and the Sova to hopefully set up a few of his plays. Different for 100 Thieves. They have the Killjoy for one, very good on Ascent, and the double duelist with the Reyna and the Jet. Much more aggressive playstyle. You'll see Asuna doing a lot of this, similar to Sean for Gen G. Whether the game's got a similar way, it's hard to say really at this point. But right now, 100 Thieves taking a leaf at T1's book and doing absolutely nothing for the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, playing patient, maybe expecting some level of aggression to come out of TSM. One thing I am going to miss is Hayes playing on the Omen. Very good at it on this map in particular. Nice start though from Cutler. In fact, Drone is going to chime in and the spike has been dropped, but the trade, they come back in a matter of seconds. Asuna even shooting his own teammate. He's so trigger happy at this point. And now it comes down to the remaining two members of TSM. Going to try and make their way back in. One of them is Wardell, and he starts things off onto Asuna. Hiko is just hiding back, and he's going to be left all on his own. The smokes leaving him sectioned off for a second or two, but he does still have the shock bolt available. It doesn't quite do as much damage as he would have liked, and Hayes is eventually going to close things out. A great 2v3 with Wardell leading the charge. More importantly, a pistol round for TSM.
Yeah, it felt as soon as that spike got planted that there was too little from 100 Thieves, either when it came to the people on the site or even the health that they had. Really made it difficult for TSM to play for the retake, which they tend to do quite a lot on this A site. So 100 Thieves are going to be forcing this up. The Stinger and the Marshall are going to be in play. Asuna going to be going towards B main, which TSM are stacking the majority of people towards A at least. Going to be poking towards mid to try and take control there. And there's a lot of tripwise at least for B, so Asuna could probably maneuver his way around it, but he's very much going lone warrior.
Now, the weaker weaponry, or the cheaper weaponry, I could say, not really that much of a detriment in this game. We've seen some pretty tasty Stinger plays already throughout this tournament, and for now, Nitro, well, he's going to be caught out. Wardell playing a little bit more aggressively, but using the range to his advantage. Asuna eventually will be able to trade him out. We'll just check a few extra angles. The fact is, though, it's actually short control that's being fought for the moment from TSM.
Asuna needs to be careful that he doesn't get peeked from drone over on A short. He can be played off. There's so much utility there. There's a really deep Cypher camera from the side of Hazed. They're going to be sitting far away. They don't want to take these engagements, but they know that the execute's coming through with that shock dart. All of this utility is from 100 Thieves onto nobody at this point. Ace is happy to sort of wait, and is going to get that fragment to Asuna, who has been a bit of a pain in the backside so far for TSM. Spike is going to get planted, but it's a 2 versus 3, and both players from 100 Thieves kind of stuck on the site.
Dicey needs to hit some pretty tasty martial shots, and unfortunately for him, there's nothing he can do. He's going so blind, but still manages to take down a third. Now, in isolation, it's an okay round. Now, we know that this isn't the normal case for 100 Thieves, where we're talking about this being a few classics, maybe a ghost or two. That was a full investment for them. So they've done some damage, they'll force a few rebuys, but the fact is, into this round, if they were to reinvest fully, it would be a pretty big risk, which will be facing off against the rifles of TSM. So ultimately, the conversion is the main thing. I was a little bit worried, though, and actually, with the amount of money they've managed to make over the last couple of rounds, there's going to be more invested in this one than you might think, Ryan.
First buy from 100 Thieves. They already have a Hunter's Fury and an Empress. So maybe a Recon Bolt is going to come out from Hiko, get somebody towards A main or Garden. It is going to be used towards mid, but it doesn't pulse for Cutler to get caught out. He's nowhere near having his own Hunter's Fury, but gets the same amount of information. None. So this is typical for what 100 Thieves like to do. They like to take mid, but you can sense the TSM are expecting it. Paranoia in hand from Sub Rosa, ready to explode onto site if needs be. They have the breach there to flash as well. They just don't have Wardell, who is right in the corner of Cubby A.
We are actually going to see
Are you
invested. He's bypassed his opponent, though. Still, remember, they're saving almost money for a buy in the next round. So any extra damage that's done here by 100 Thieves would be considered a success. And right now, they're not in a bad position whatsoever. However, Wardell in a good spot, but he's only going to get one. The plant on A looks almost inevitable. And actually, Dicey, he's managed to retrieve a Bulldog. This is starting to become possible for the side of 100 Thieves. And they are making these rounds tougher and tougher as they go by. Now, both players come from the heavens, the same angle. Dicey ready and waiting to try and watch onto the cross, try and stop players from getting toward this team. Fantastically well. It won't matter though. He gets both kills, ending the round with a 4K, and 100 Thieves with a Thrifty buy take their first round.
And this is a key thing that TSM needs to be careful from. You can't give 100 Thieves an inch, they will take a mile. Every one of these players can clutch when needed. And it's a straightforward round to at least keep things close and not let TSM build up a bit of a lead on their defense. But it has crippled TSM's economy. And their guns are good to go. But it seems now that the Thieves aren't really dedicating to too much. The ultimate on the side of Wardell is going to be used. The Bladestorm with a hot peek. Breach Flash is going to try to set him up, but the Recon Bolt has meant that he might want to play back a little bit. Good information for 100 Thieves right now who haven't dedicated to all that much. And the Reyna still has the Empress. The Bladestorm is still available from Dicey after that 4K. Seems that they're trying to set up a plan going towards B. But I'm actually quite surprised with how passively, at least, Asuna is playing.
Swarm grenade out.
Oh. Important round for both sides. Guardian in Rosa.
Shadows traveling.
The rest of the team definitely having some pieces missing here and there. 45 seconds on the clock, and the attackers now slowly making their way in towards this B site. You can see Hazed just trying to catch them as they go past, and Sub Rosa is going to be in position. A few spam shots, actually connecting a little bit of extra damage.
30 seconds left.
But ultimately, not going to be able to do too much. In fact, Sub Rosa is actually going to go pushing all the way through, using the paranoia to gain himself an extra little bit of ground, and the time is starting to tick. This is becoming a little bit of a problematic scenario now for 100 Thieves, but they find 2 kills, Steel with a third.
10 seconds left.
The last that's left. All onto Sub Rosa, and there's nothing he can do. They may have had some decent positioning, TSM, but every frag goes the way of the Thieves.
And that's how you play the clock. You just run down the time, go for an execute. Even that long flank coming out from Steel was super well timed. In some cases, it can be a little bit early, getting caught out with people rotating, or just too late where it doesn't add anything. But he is the RGL, giving commands from distance. Trying to give information without playing the Cypher is very difficult to do. It is going to be a full buy from TSM, so there's a lot still on here. As soon as it's going to be pushing mid, might do it aggressively with the Omen to take control. We're just going to bait towards B main and try and face off against the breaching jet that's on short and the Omen that's mid waiting too.
Shadows
Rosa already taking a pretty nasty tag. He's trying to get cheeky around mid. This is something we saw quite regularly from... Oh no, sorry, not Cutler. Hayes. When they previously played this map, but it hasn't gone to plan. There will be an instant trade coming in from the side of TSM, so it's not the end of the world, and actually just going to use the Cloudburst to get Drone out of there. A trade, though, for the attackers. Never really too much of a bad thing, Ryan.
Far so good. There is a Rolling Thunder available now. If Drone wants to use it, he is going to be beating him up, and he closes the door, and it's just gives it up so much for Steel to just peek around the corner and be able to free fire in the right position. Wardell trying to use his smoke to skirt across the top of rafters a little bit, but Steel yet again gets a second. So Spike is going to get planted. Nitro's lurking. He will do this a lot on the
30
attack.
seconds left.
And that's probably
Spike
one of the
planted.
reasons why TSM are going to be considering saving right now.
It's definitely a rough retake if they were going to go for it, and they still have a lot of the utility available as well, either just to be used to hold onto their weaponry or even just to pick it back up and have something into the next. Even still though, 100 Thieves looking good, and in fact they are on the hunt,
cover going
starting
out.
to look for these remaining weapons, guessing where their opponents are going to be sitting. Obviously not wanting to throw too much weaponry away themselves, not wanting to rebuy too much going into the next round, but if they can remove this weaponry from the side TSM, it could be worth it. Cutler though already going to pick one off. It seems like the remaining players are being a little bit more hesitant here, so no real losses for the side of TSM, at least during their save, but it is still the Thieves to take another round, 3 in a row since the pistol.
Some buys still coming through from TSM. Try and force what they can. Save coming into the next round potentially. Drone is still good to go on the Rolling Thunder if he wants to use it. The lockdown is good for Steel too, which might force TSM to play a bit more aggressively on A main, because that is such a common spot to use that lockdown on attack. It is the area that Steel is facing in, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be a hard dedication from 100 Thieves. They really do like to sort of buy up their options, not really dedicate too much to either side to have that information given away easily. They're really respecting TSM here, but they have so much control of the map already.
I got the spike.
Well, yeah, this time the battles from Sub Rosa over the last couple of rounds haven't really been going that great in mid, so it's a change. Gonna try and have Wardell watching from short and a more passive stance, which in fact that's what we see a lot in Europe. I think European teams are much more willing to just completely abandon mid, and I think TSM are almost using it as a confidence play in some of the earlier stages these rounds. But again, we're going to start seeing a slow take towards the B site. With the lockdown initiated, it leaves one player completely trapped within the site. I think they need to try and get rid of this, and it seems like they have. It leaves now with a slightly problematic situation for the
30
remaining
seconds
members
left.
of Thieves. They were hoping to try and force these players out. Instead, they are going to have to battle for this site as soon as he's trying to spray, he's trying to find. There is a man in that smoke, but unfortunately he's not found him, and he's just lurking around the boxes. It's a fantastic crossfire from TSM. We'll get one with the operator, but the time now ticking, and
10 seconds left
on the other side. It will be a back and forth with TSM evening the score once again.
They'd force out the neural theft, so they know where Nitro is. There isn't going to be any time to really chase him up to take this Phantom from him. But these are real mind games now coming out from either team. So different to the Gen G Sentinels game that was so much more higher paced. Well, the Gen G really dictated the tempo of that game completely. And it's a similar thing here for 100 Thieves, but TSM look comfortable to match to it. Still a buy, mostly at least from the side of 100 Thieves. But there's no ultimates available. The lockdown didn't catch anything though from Steel, but he is halfway almost to getting another one. So yet again, picking up the orbs, getting the plant in, trying to just build up as many lockdowns as he possibly can on this attack. Wardell is going to meet them. That's a really good paranoia, though. He isn't going to catch anybody, and Hunter Fury is going to be used. He misses the shots, but manages to flick around with a classic. Wardell style points there to get the kill onto Steel, and it's a bit of an impact for 100 Thieves, whose money didn't look good already, but being a person down, TSM looking on top right now.
Yeah, you know, hitting the easy operator shot, that's not his style. It's the fadeaway classic kill. That's a little bit more Wardell. And now, while Nitro trying to get his way through is actually going to be caught, and the Rolling Thunder is killed off sooner as well. A break from the scoreboard is all it really was, as now things look straight back into the favor of TSM, and the remaining two players, in the form of Dicey, an awful lot to do. Another one for Wardell. This time, you know, with the operator back to the standard, and Dicey, the problem is he's got 45 seconds. Realistically, I'm sure he'd love to keep this operator into the next round, maybe take a few players with him, but at this point, there's so long to save. I don't think the defenders are going to let him, and he's coming under pressure with so much different utility. They are fully on the hunt, and a missed shot just can't be allowed at this point.
They're using so much utility to get in, they can't get the frag. Sub Rosa is just, it's the Matrix for him, he's just dodging, and he's on 30 health, so must have been leg shot or something.
That was so trolling. Yeah, he just comes jumping through, almost willing his opponent to hit him there.
100 Thieves are still buying. Like, they still have money. It's kind of impressive how they've been able to keep it up like this, but TSM taking the lead. The operator's still in the hands of Wardell. He's going to be very happy with that, and they're building up a lot more bank to be able to do it in the next round if needs be. They have the from the shadows. That's going to be played towards B, but probably going to be using the paranoia to set up a quick play to get Wardell into an aggressive position. As soon as really not put too much pressure towards B main, it's just been Aaliyah and then move into mid with Nitro, but we haven't really seen that impact or the fear set in for TSM. They're respecting it. They've got a lot of side for utility towards there to keep it in mind, but they just don't look phased at all by what 100 Thieves are trying to do in mid now.
I almost like the change. I think giving it up is just forcing 100 Thieves into a more heavy execute style, and as of right now, it hasn't been going too well. They're trying to rely on Hiko to find one, and he actually does catch out Hazed. That's a pretty big hit as well, with the amount of utility we've seen him use to try and hold on to the B site. Although this round is a complete change. They've decided to stick Wardell there in response. But because of that, a lot of ground has gone both ways. The A site has seen a push all the way through of the defenders, and on the other side of things, the attackers have pushed onto the A site.
Sabrosa's trying to work out what to do, and he's actually going to use the from the shadows just to check that B or move away completely.
30 seconds left.
What?
Bit of an interesting play, really. Are they just hoping to save at this point? Do they really not want to take this fight? Seems difficult on the side of Cutler and Drone to try and get out at this point. They have no idea where any of the attackers are. Very odd from TSM to try and give that fight up, but 100 Thieves just had so much awkward map control that where do you even begin to try and retake A there?
I want to say that was a miscall. Like, obviously it's impossible to say, but realistically, you have the back of A, and then you're looking at holding on to Heaven, and he teleports the other side of the map. I can only assume that comes from a call. Oh no! Oh, that's tilting. That's the worst. There's nothing worse than that, dying to the stupid little turret. Oh god. But yeah, I almost want to say that was just that they expected maybe a B play. And
I don't know, like,
because I feel like surely Sub Rosa could have got out of there without wasting an ultimate.
that's the thing that confuses. Yeah, like saving, I haven't got a problem with, but dedicating an ultimate to save is.
I don't. Yeah, I think that was just a miscall maybe. But either way, 100 Thieves did make that round really awkward, because it was a position as well where TSM have so much map control, but they've also lost map control that you never really expected them to lose. So a bit of a peculiar round, I would say, from both sides, but ultimately 100 Thieves aren't going to mind. They managed to win a round. They keep the majority of their players alive, and considering their bank was getting a little bit low, they're now in a pretty good spot again.
Their pints are in TSM right now. Drone is probably away from it, so it's just going to try and meet it. Can get one. Almost gets Asuna, but manages to get the headshot just in time. Haste is now going to be watching towards cover as The rain is still in mid, had to back off. The door's going to be closed in the face of haste, and Asuna's not going to be able to lurk anymore. Spike is going to get planted, but it's a 3 versus 4. Don't think there's going to be an ultimate available. Steel's just trying to see if he can bait out any more utility. But look at this, actually. The Jet is pushing on the head. Wardell misses the shots. Dicey creating a lot of space, and the lockdown's even going to be used to try and keep this site protected. Do we see TSM try and push in now to try and get rid of it at this point? They're actually going to try and do it. Cutlass able to get one, but traded out by Hiko, who is on A main. He's going to get flanked, actually, by Sabrosa with a perfect paranoia. 2 versus 1. The lockdown isn't going to find too much. It's just Steel in a 1 versus 2, surrounded at this point by the defenders. Can't even get his hands on Hazed. Defuse is a straightforward one. An interesting play from TSM to beat them there. Bit of a misplay from 100 Thieves, I feel.
Yeah, I think it started off really well from Dicey. Like, the push there to even things up was perfect. It was just the fact that I don't think they had anyone properly covering in towards short A. So they kind of get caught out on the way back. And that's also how the ultimate gets destroyed as well. So then they get denied the lockdown. And a lot more space is gained by TSM. At the same time, to bring it back after the lockdown is placed and it was a 3v3, very well done from TSM. So making things interesting. Now, from what we've seen from them statistically, this is a map where they do relatively well on both sides, but it's the defense where we see them put up the heftier margin of rounds. So definitely not too much for a problem for 100 Thieves just yet. Wardell caught between 2 angles.
Asuna.
There's going to be some aggression, and Asuna has actually managed to just walk. It seems like he just walked into B, got a kill, and walked away. Like, I don't know how he's managed to do that so clean.
You'd be surprised with the amount of times that a player could just walk into a site, because I guess the defenders assume that they would never do it. There could be so much space exploited, and that's the great thing about having Nitro and Asuna just being these satellites almost for 100 Thieves. Nitro's not going to push beyond this, but look how much utility from the Cypher is dedicated just to make sure that he doesn't push towards their spawn. It's not really achieving too much when it comes to map control, but it's taking some key utility away from B. Hazed is just a body there, and if he takes a 1v1 fight against Asuna, I would assume he'd lose. The ultimate orb is going to be picked up, and now the Empress is available too if they want to push on in here. They could just do it off the back of this Reyna. The issue is she needs to get a kill to get some health.
30 seconds left.
Half HP, so needs to create a play, and there's only 30 seconds left for 100 Thieves to try and hit a site. It has to be B at this point. There's no way to rotate, but Steel is baiting and lurking as always.
This is getting ridiculously long on the clock. I think they're trying to pull rotations. Push comes in,
10
but it's
seconds
just
left.
a bait and switch. They needed the kill to come in, but however, Cutler at the back of the site could be a huge problem, and the time has now ticked too far. There is nothing that the side of 100 Thieves could do, and this is the risk they take pushing in so late into the site. They did not expect 2 players to be all the way at the back there, and unfortunately for them, it's now going to be another round for TSM, starting to gain some momentum, it seems. And on the other side of things, money is a little bit awkward. Now, if they go for a buy, either it means there might be some utility missing or some slight weaponry missing. I'm looking at Hiko because he's the one with the majority of the cash. But realistically, it might just be a hero rifle. The main confusion there was that Nitro brought up with him as well. But the fact that now it's just Hiko going for that hero rifle, absolutely fine.
Suna's going to be pushing B main again. He's having to back up as much as possible, but it's just going to be scared off. He only has a Sheriff at this point that he can't really take that engagement in the way that he's hoping for. So Rose is going to win that fight anyway without needing too much utility. Just smokes it, Cypher closes the door to make sure that there can't be a mid to B hit, at least without a lot of noise made. Look how close Drone is willing to hold here. Steel, though, still wins that engagement. He's going to back off as much as he possibly can, just needs to fight. Brings out the ultimate. Nitro's made his way into sight with the help of his team, but Cutlass recon bolt. Is it going to find too much because the paranoia is really good, so he's going to hit across sight, narrowly misses players on sight. and it's actually Hiko with the aggressive ultimate that gets the frag. Luckily, Wardell could do a lot more with the Blade Storm, but Hiko from A main,
Cover going out.
nobody's going to be haunting him yet, but Sub Rosa is still wanting to make sure that they can
30
take him out of
seconds
this
left.
engagement. Certainly with the fact that Dicey has the spike, hasn't planted it yet because he doesn't know where these defenders are.
Shadows traveling.
Again, the time ticking all the way down, but they're already on the site. They're just trying to find some extra information.
Revealing area.
10 seconds
They
left.
will be able to do just that, but they have to go for the plant now. They're leaving things very, very late. They need somebody to come at multiple different angles, and they're just not going to be able to do it. Already one picked off. It's left onto Dicey. There's nothing he can do. And again, it's another round in a row now. An operator saved, and TSM, they're grinding them out on the defensive side. I have to say though, I'm impressed with like some of the earlier rounds we saw from 100 Thieves. I'm hoping we'll see them at least show up a relatively stellar defense,
Last
but
round
it
before
actually
the
seems to
half.
be a lot of the more utility-based players who are doing a lot of the work. Like obviously you've got Wardell still stacking up the frags here and there, but Cutler, obviously one of the players up the top of the board, normally put into a more supportive role. In fact, previously playing
Here.
on the Omen and moving over to Sova. We've seen a lot of changes actually from TSM as of recent with like previously Sova for drone now moving over as well to pick up the breach, which is clearly going to be a big part, I imagine, of their attacking side. And while we're going to see the fault line expended early into this round, Theo just patiently waiting, trying his best to lurk with the Killjoy, which is not necessarily the easiest job in the world. And I know that players like Angel, for example, have said that the use of a Killjoy diminished. I like the use of the smoke, though. They covered off the Killjoy bot. Because of that, they don't actually know that somebody's pushed through the other side. That is brilliant from TSM. That's given Hazed 2 free kills off of a simplistic smoke just to deny that knowledge. At the same time, the trades come back, but Sub Rosa is there once again. It's left onto Nitro. 1 versus 3. Oh, he's been spotted as well, just as he makes his way around the corner. It's going to be Odin spam. Still manages to get a kill onto Wardell, though. This is now the realms of possibility. A little bit of extra cover. He's got his paranoia as well. And with both players around that corner, they're going to start spamming just to try and kill him off before he makes his way through the smoke. They don't know how far he's gone. It's another one coming up for Nitro, and somehow he's still standing into a 1 versus 1. Omen on Omen. Sub Rosa facing off against Nitro, and Sub Rosa will eventually close it. A little bit too close for comfort for TSM, but ultimately they managed to string a multitude of rounds together towards the end of that half, and they will take things 8-4.
Replays of everything that we just saw, thanks to GoPuff. And TSM just seem to be very comfortable with playing up against what 100 Thieves are doing with their comp. There isn't a reliance on ultimates. You've got the Hunter's Fury, you've got the Lockdown Show, but some style points for Sub Rosa, who had a brilliant half. This smoke play is exceptional. And it's something that you would expect to want to see from 100 Thieves at this point on their defense, certainly from Nitro doing something similar, but a lot of people think that TSM has just been dropping off when it comes to the way that they play. They do need to attack into 100 Thieves now that might be looking to play mid very aggressively with the bodies that they have there. Hiko playing from all the way in their spawn, trying to take these fights, can at least get on to steal. As soon as they're able to trade the smokes and all of these fights, as soon as it's just trying to run in. What a mess, but somehow it's still a 2 versus 2.
Yeah, the spike's just gone. Like, Hazed is like, right, you guys keep fighting, keep working the distraction. I'm just going to go and plant the spike on the other side of the map. I'm not interested in those battles. I want the round win. And now we get the face-off. Nitro, one end. Also got a long rotation from Cutler coming in as well. Potential for a cheeky surprise flank to come in, and they know where Hazed is. He's just trying to buy time, but the fact is, there is that flank. Eco comes down, and it's left all onto Nitro. The new man on the block, the massive transfer that came in to this 100 Thieves roster, but I don't think he's going to be able to do anything here. Hazed has played that round to perfection. A 9-4 in favor of TSM, and now we get to see what's invested in this next one from 100 Thieves.
Have been known to force on either side on the round after the pistol. They just can't let TSM keep running away with it at this point, so it's just so much safer to save.
Yes, this should do.
And it's crazy how TSM are willing to meet 100 Thieves in a fight like that and
really
still
find
manage
it.
to at least come off even. It was a nice play from 100 Thieves to try and go for the defuse, but the flank from Cutler was so good. Yet again, 100 Thieves are going to put a lot of pressure from short, from mid. But really, the only one going to beat them is Subrosa. He's got the better gun. He's got a Phantom. But if he gets caught out here, that's a big gun that they can get. Luckily, the rest of TSM is covering him. 3 easy frags to try and clear up the middle of this site. You would expect the TSM would make this 10-4.
My ult here.
Yeah, that'd have to be something pretty ridiculous. And our drone is going to find out where the last player is as well. That was the one sneaky remainder don't know too much about. That was Nitro, of course, and not quite to be. Hiko, he's pulled off many a clutch in his time. This would probably be the best of them, if I'm being honest, and that's throughout an insane Counter-Strike career. Mainly because this looks impossible. They're trying to hunt him down. They don't want to allow Hiko to even hold on to his classic. This is completely unnecessary from TSM, but they are asserting their dominance in the server. 10-4, lead extended. Well, this could be it for 100 Thieves. And not in a sense that if they lose this round, they're out or anything, but more so, it gets to the point of no return. This is a heavy investment. This is a weaker purchase, although I will say we did see TSM invest mostly into rifles just to make sure they kept it clean.
Wardell might be a bit quieter. The attack op isn't really as prominent as it used to be since the nerfs to the pricing and just the movement changes. Dicey, though, willing to face the Eldron is going to let him know at least more is there. And as soon as actually just going to try and meet them, he can at least get one, but it's trade-outs. TSM managing to find ways to even punish aggressive players coming out of 100 Thieves on this defense. They haven't gone on for the execute yet. They just want to be really careful, and this has been a sign of an improved TSM. They're really making sure that they check all of these corners, that they don't get caught out by some Nitro Steel mind games at this point. And it's a great way for these more established Counter-Strike, ex-Counter-Strike players to try and clutch up here in this 3v3.
I can't say I'm surprised TSM coming into this tournament looking strong. After, as said, what was a disappointing tournament at Pot Flash. I'm sure over the last couple of months they've been stewing, waiting for this first strike event to start. It's evident the hours have been put in. Changes, massive changes have been made to their comp and what agents are being played.
30
But now it
seconds
looks
left.
impressive. Bear in mind, this is their opponent's map choice. Sure, it's one that they're very competent on. Don't get me wrong. It was a risky pick, a one that I think 100 Thieves knew was going to be rough, but this is impressive stuff. Wardell is going to spot his opponent. He takes a hell of a lot of damage onto the cross. Now, he's the man with the spike, but he's got
10 seconds
Hayes
left.
defending, holding,
planted.
watching to try and cover them off, but Nitro wins that duel. Puts them into a good position in this retake. And that shock dart was almost enough, but Cutler's trying his best to deny them any further presence on towards Wardell. However, Ryan, this one's looking rough.
Not made any movement. I think at this point it's going to be a save, but they could at least get the operator out of Wardell's hands. They're going to try and push and go for it, or just make sure that he can't get off this site, but he's still able to do damage onto Hiko. Cutler is like, not again. I don't want to deal with this turret, please. Look at this. He's just going for it. Wardell is forced to dash away to back off, and
Oh!
classic jumping right click. It's a classic jumping right click, Tom. We know what this is like.
To end it like that though is BS. That's I love it. I love it.
I like the idea from 100 Thieves to try and punish the economy because the operator is so expensive nowadays. But Wardell still finds a way to manage to keep it. This is so dominant on Hiko and 100 Thieves' map pick. This is the map that they wanted to play, and this is a map that TSM didn't go bad on. They won it 13-6 against Renegades. And the map that they lost, which was split, I'm going to see until the third map, if we even get there at this point. 100 Thieves need to try and clutch up on Haven, it looks like.
Well, their attempted retake in the last round was a failure. It was a 3v2. One of the players was low, and still Wardell styled on them like it was absolutely nothing. Because of that, he gets to keep his operator. Unfortunately for 100 Thieves, it's quite a bit more damning. That was a lot of money that they lost, taking a big risk going into that afterplant situation. As you sort of mentioned, it seemed like initially they were saving, but I think TSM did a good job of denying space, denying them time, and well, eventually, Wardell again managing to hit his shots. The investment into this round, Ryan, unfortunately, is going to be mostly pistols and for Nitro. His luck doesn't seem to be changing. Caught in the head through the smoke. He does have some good positioning here, though.
30 seconds left.
Dicey's got a nice little off angle he can maybe get a kill on, but that's kind of been the story for 100 Thieves. Like, these players that have done some insane clutches over the past couple of days, not really finding their shots or that confidence to open up a sight to make a play. I mean, it was that for Asuna, sure. I mean, he heard me clearly.
10
but
seconds left.
Rose is able
Last
to get
player
through. He's
standing.
getting free. He's
Spike
mowing them
planted.
down. It's just going to be Steel, who's been waiting on A main this whole time. Not even really worth saving with the guns that he has. So Rosa could get the ace.
There is a player dropped, but unfortunately, it's dropped in the center of the B site. So for Steel to be able to get anywhere near his opponents is going to be a pretty rough one. And I have to say, he's someone that, when it comes to his killjoy, I'm looking forward to see it more and more, because there are a lot of sort of players that have been switching back and forth, and a lot of them just purely dedicated themselves to the cipher. But there are nowhere near as many that have gone purely in on killjoy like he has. So I want to see more of it. Unfortunately, the main thing we were looking for is on the defensive side. And by the looks of it, they might not get much of a defensive side. I like that, though. He's patient. He expects
Match
a
point.
push.
Okay.
Did he get the gun? Oh, he didn't get it. That's rough. Definitely did the work and make things more costly, but no weapon as a reward.
Placing alarm bot. Placing swarm grenade.
Wardell having twice as many kills as his Jet counterpart. Has the operator on his defense, but half armor, but still got to try and make a play. They're both stacking up on the B site. Usually what this means is that Dicey can be a bit more aggressive by holding the operator, and Asuna will just keep pushing, but Steel is going to be hit hard already. The aftershock actually stops him from pushing into a safe position, but he still manages it anyway. 2 health is Wardell. The spray able to do so much damage to him, but not enough to be lethal, unfortunately. The Eldrun is going to scout a little bit. Find the Steel is there, but they don't know that he's in this cyber key. It's very messy, very scrappy. The door's going to be closed into the face. Dicey's able to get one, and now the Rolling Thunder's going to be used for the attacks at TSM drone, making some space, but Asuna and Dicey actually able to make some plays. The Empress is out from Asuna. This is more like it from this player, but he doesn't know where any of these attackers are. He's got to deal with Omen right in this corner. Sub-Rosa has a nice little off angle, and now the Hunter's Fury from distance from Cutler is going to try and stall it out at least.
He's dead.
He's dead. Dicey's got him. Important round for 100 Thieves to win, but still cost a lot of ultimates, a lot of stuff used, but that's more like it from Asuna.
Yeah, definitely what we want to see, because that's ultimately the only reason you have that Reyna is for those sort of clutch situations, those DPS stats. Realistically, he's not been bad, but we needed to see a little bit more from him.
I love that animated spray. I think it turns off
Get
when the
out of
map
my way.
starts. Yeah, it does, because it's just a pre-round one.
How
But
was
the
someone
lockdown is
died
available
that
on the
fast?
defense. That's the jump boost, maybe? I mean, Wardell,
That's
he don't miss.
ridiculous.
I think it's easy to sleep on him nowadays, because liking Wardell was so, like, June 2020. Like, when it came to his plays, but he's still good. And I think even this map alone is a dominant showing for TSM to show that, yeah, people are raving about Sentinels being the top team in NA. After Sentinels today, it's still very much open in the air. And 100 Thieves, 12-5 down, 4 players. They have a lockdown, but that requires them to play pretty much on a retake. Steal with the operators looking down A main, but TSM are going to try and use this to their advantage, knowing that 100 Thieves will be trying to play the sites, trying to play off of the central parts of the map and use it to explode in an area. Nitro is close. He's going to be holding in Garden.
How many
But
ops
he
have
also,
they got?
yeah, they're just stacking operators at this point. Just the two.
Oh, I
okay.
imagine that was Dicey's. Okay, yeah, I think he just picked up the op from Dicey's corpse.
30 seconds left.
Gonna try and man it himself. He was a primary AWPer
Shadows traveling.
on Team Liquid, so he definitely can wield the sniper. Gonna get anything here? No, he can't. Drone with the opener, and now it falls onto one man. Steel to try and hold the line, and he gets nothing as well. A slaughter on the A site, and the end of the map
10
looming.
seconds left.
It's left on
Spike
a
planted.
2 versus 5 retake. Pico alongside Asuna, the young and the old, the experienced and the rookie, and it's left on to just the rookie, 17-year-old, to try and clutch versus 5 players. I don't think it's happening this time, but maybe he can pad the stats a little. It will be Drone to close out map number 1. 13-5 in favor of TSM. 100 Thieves on their map choice, and by the looks of it, well, TSM are here to play.
Definitely, and it's not a good look for 100 Thieves when you pick a map like that and lose it pretty convincingly, I think. And it certainly makes sense for Mim to beat him on this map too in a similarly dominant way. And Mim ended up losing out that series with 2 other overtimes on Bind and Haven. Haven of which is the map that we're going to next, but this is where TSM wanted to play ball. This is how they wanted to go. We would go to split if we get to the 3rd map, but honestly, with the convincing way that TSM played that, we might not expect it. This could be a straightforward 2-0 at this point.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be overly surprised, like, especially going on to the 2 maps we got. We sort of mentioned it in the last series when we were talking about Sentinels. Like, if you're going to pick one of your opponents or one of the best teams in North America's, one of their strongest maps, you have to be prepared, you have to be ready. And I don't think by any stretch that 100 Thieves are a bad team on this map. I just think they came up against the TSM who are more than prepared. They had cheeky little plays that they were making on the defensive side, like that smoke onto the turret was beautiful to get them the opening picks. And those are the sort of things I've always loved with this sort of TSM roster is I think that when a lot of the time when they get kicked down, that's when you see all of these players go, okay, now it's time to work. And I don't believe for a second that when they were considered number 1, that they were like just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. But I think at the same time, a kick up the backside, a loss, and then you're sort of stewing in that loss for a couple of months. That's the sort of moment where a team goes and puts in a ridiculous amount of hours.
I feel that Wardell had a really good game, certainly when you look at the stats and the impact that he had, but
Yeah.
it was all round a good team performance from TSM. They seemed to make sure that they weren't going to get exploited by 100 Thieves, who, certainly on the attack, are constantly finding avenues to push. And with maps like Ascent, because there's so many different ways that you can take it on the attack, there's always going to be one entrance, one place that isn't being watched by Cypher utility, that isn't being watched by anybody that you can exploit. You can constantly sort of Suna and Nitro pushing mid and B, and they couldn't make anything happen from it with the way that TSM had set it up. So it's smart play from TSM to adjust to it. They didn't look like they, not being adapted to the meta as it's changing up. 100 Thieves look like one of those teams that tried to push that as much as possible. And I mentioned that big playbook that 100 Thieves had. Certainly didn't look as big, certainly in that map.
Well, either way, there is still another map to come. Now, sure, it is going to be the choice of TSM, and it's definitely going to show some real tenacity from a brand new 100 Thieves roster to bring this one back. But I believe we're going to be heading off to a break just before that, but make sure you don't go anywhere as we'll be back soon.